What is up, guys? Welcome back to another GeekaWhat video. And in this one, I'm going to be showing you how to build an awesome 1440p gaming PC build using this AMD's still fairly new 7900 XT. Is this card worth it over its more expensive XTX bigger brother? And if so, which are the best components to match it up with to avoid bottlenecking and get the performance a card like this can deliver? In this video, I'll be walking you through all the parts, the build process and performance a little bit later on. So buckle in and let's do this. This video will be split into three core sections. First, the parts. Second, the build process, and third, the benchmarks a bit later. And let's start the parts, shall we, by looking at the motherboard and, of course, the CPU. At the heart of the build is the Intel Core i5-13400F, a more entry-level i5 that still retains all of the bonuses of the 13th gen architecture, high core count, P&E cores, great boost clock speeds, and solid multi-threaded performance. Plus, they're pretty cool running chips, at least compared to AMD's Ryzen 7000, which, by design, whatever that means, run very hot. Something we'd like to avoid in this system. It also pairs up nicely with the ASUS ROG STRIX B760A, a more affordable option for those looking at 13th gen compatible motherboards. ASUS's B760 lineup is very solid, and with a nice two-tone white and black colour scheme, it's going to match the build aesthetic perfectly, my friends. Good work, ASUS, very nice. And it's cheaper, obviously, too, than its Z790 counterparts by quite a lot, really, which definitely helps. As always, I'll be linking both the motherboard, CPU, and all the other components down below over on Amazon for latest pricing and availability. I'm sure you guys know how to install a 13th gen processor by now. If not, lift up the arm and the socket cover, take a look at it from the side, and then drop the CPU into place. Pop the cover back down, bit of pressure, and the CPU installs nice and easy. Memory-wise, I'm also going to pop in a 32 gig kit of Corsair's Vengeance RGB. They do these more affordable RS and RT models with this nice two-tone colour scheme and aesthetic. You want the second and fourth DIMMs here to get the best possible performance. I'm going to round things off on the motherboard with the NVMe drive. This is the Corsair MP600 GS. Now, Corsair very kindly sent the 2TB drive over for some of our other projects, but I'd recommend dropping to 1TB for this build. You'll save money, arguably won't need the extra storage, and even if you do, a cheaper hard drive or Gen 3 SSD to provide a bit of an extra storage boost is going to be a much cheaper way of doing things. Nice drive though, and looks great under the top M.2 heatsink that you get with this motherboard. As much as I said that was the final thing to do on the motherboard, I did tell a bit of a cheeky lie. It does happen from time to time. What I'm actually going to do before moving on is just prep some of the cooler. And this is where it gets exciting, because Corsair sent over their H100i Elite Capellix XT. The reason I've only gone for like a smaller 240mm is obviously we can't overclock the CPU. So arguably an air cooler would also be fine, but you know, let's keep things interesting. Taking it out of the box, I mean, it looks very similar to some of their other coolers. The radiator is this nice, I want to say like powder coated, but kind of glossy white paint. That's pretty cool. It's also got this really cool water block design with the triangles that we've seen on a few of their other cases. What we're actually looking for here though is a bag of hardware. That's this one here. It says Intel HW. As inside of here is a few bits and bobs that we need to prep the cooler install. So we've got this bracket here, which actually is going to pop through the rear of the motherboard. So if you take a look, it literally just slides into any of these holes here nice and easily. That'll do us, lovely stuff. Slide the motherboard back round so that gravity is going to hold the bracket in, and then find the appropriate bag of screws. So we've got 1700. Yes, that is the socket type that we're going to be using. Just 4 posts which you're going to add on to each corner and install the CPU block down to later on. But for now, just add these 4 posts in and go from there. Once that's all done, the case is the next item on the agenda. Now this is the NZXT H5 Elite. Now I like this case. It's got some really cool features. You've got a blower style fan that points directly at the GPU for extra cooling, support for like vertical mounts. You've got 240mm rads at the front, 240mm rad at the top. You've got 2 140mm RGBs at the front as standard. For a small compact case, it really does pack a punch. And although it's not cheap, it definitely stacks up well against other options for the price point. point. You can see our full review, analysis, airflow testing, benchmarking, you name it, over on GeekaWhat.com. Link in the cards now. Hashtag shameless plug. Sorry for all the shameless plugs, but please go and read our website. We put a lot of work in recently. Yeah, boys, nice. Nice. Do you think I got the point across?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, what have they got to do?
Well, first they've got to subscribe.
Well, you do have to subscribe, but what else do they have to do?
Got to go to GeekaWhat.com.
Guys, what have they got to do? Go to
GeekaWhat.com.
See, if that hasn't sold you, what will? Good work, everybody. Our next door neighbours are just like, well, they're probably on GeekaWhat.com having a look at the reviews and all that sort of stuff. You guys have seen me put a motherboard into a case before, and if you haven't, and you're new around here, welcome. So as such, I'm not going to insult your intelligence as to how it's done. I'm just going to go ahead and whack this thing in here. All the standoffs are in the right places already, and this is going to look mighty fine once it's all installed. Motherboard matches the case perfectly. While I'm here, I'm also just going to add the radiator in to the very top. You will, of course, need to take off the dust filter and install the fans before you install the radiator. Fans at the bottom, rad on the top, and the block goes onto the CPU like so. Nice and simple if you read the instructions and you take your time. Now then, the motherboard is in, and it's probably the bit of the video some of you will be most excited for, the installation of the graphics card. And let me tell you, this Radeon 7900 XT from ASUS, the tough version, it's a bit of a behemoth, if I could actually get the bleeding thing out of here. Come on, I really don't want to rip this box and damage it. Here we are. So, very heavy. Obviously, the last little bit has been not an uncontroversial period for GPU launches. And it's no secret that the 7900... Oh no. XTX has had a slightly warmer reception than the XT non-X. That was bad. Don't know which bit hit the floor. It looks okay. Now, with this graphics card and this case, we've got a few options. Obviously, it's not the perfect fit in terms of colour scheme, but it also isn't black, with a lighter grey that I'm hoping might match with the accents on the fans and on the motherboard. Now, either we could pop it in a standard sort of horizontal orientation. It will fit, but I mean, just about. There we are. Or you can also pick up a vertical GPU mount and have this thing perfectly vertically. And I'm not really sure which I prefer. Oh, God.
Stop dropping it.
Oh, no, this is bad. It's too big. That's the problem. What do you think, Dan? Is that a bit stupid?
I think the vertical would be better because you'll be able to hide the power cables more.
Right, editor Dan has spoken. It's going vertically. So in order to do that, I'm just going to take off this cover first. It's gone somewhere. And the second one, we'll try not to send this one flying across the studio this time around. And then these rear lanes also need removing. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4... And finally, the last one, PCIe cover numero 5. So it's all fine. It's been a long morning. There we are. Then actually add in the whole device. Couple of screws to fasten this into place. One at the top, and then second one at the bottom. And a couple of moments later, we can move the case over, push back the clip on our retention slot, then kind of try and get this thing in. Not really sure how. Oh dear. It'll go in. I have measured it. It does fit. Now it's stuck. Right, this will work. I'm sure this is going to work. I'm not sure this is going to work. Aha! Yes! We're in-ish. Oh, nearly. It's so close. I can't even tell you. Oh. Right, so it's in, and both of the front fans spin. It could not be any tighter of a squeeze. So pop the GPU screws in, and once that's in, it'll lift the card up a little bit, prevent any clearance issues, or at least that's the plan. Let me know in the comments below, does this look sick, or does it look a bit stupid? I'm going for the first option. To wrap things up, there is just 1 or 2 more bits to do, namely add in the power supply. 750 watt ROG STRIX is the order of the day with a 10-year warranty and an 80+ gold certification. It's super efficient and will do a great job of powering, I'm losing the plot, powering the whole build. And I'll rejoin you once that's all in to see how this thing stacks up in real world gaming titles. But first, how good it looks in an epic GeekaWhat montage. Get subscribed and I'll see you in just a minute. Jay, come and have a look at this. Jay, what do you think?
How did you get that in there?
Don't know, but it's not coming back out. Ah, it's in.
Airflow?
Good.
You sure?
Yeah, and there's a fan at the bottom.
Fan at the bottom does nothing.
How do you know, Jay? Have you tested it on?
GeekaWhat.com.
Yeah, montage, baby. I'm not sure when you're going to be seeing this, but I've decided that this vertical mount with this graphics card is actually quite a bad idea. We're currently having no boot, but the whole thing, to be honest with you, is just way too tight. It's much, much better in a standard horizontal configuration. With the changes made, will it finally boot? There's only one way to find out. Let's jump the PC. We've got a VGA light. Oh, that's promising. No. Let's just try again from the start. Oh, please. Oh, this is ridiculous. It's still not working.
Do you know what I think it is?
Go on.
It's when you drop the GPU.
I didn't drop the GPU. I did drop the GPU. So I'm just so at a loss as to what on earth is going on. I'm done. Oh. I got a feeling that this graphics card might be a bit dead. I think the graphics card is, excuse my French. All right, what's this? 30 something, 60 Ti. Right, don't film this bit because it's a bit tight. Oh my God. The GPU is actually dead. The 7900 XT is actually dead. Or it might not be dead. I have got one other theory. Maybe there are some power issues because the 3060 Ti only needs one power cable. So let me actually test out the other GPU power cable because this only had 2 and the other one had 4 connectors. Oh my God. Unless the cable's not plugged in properly to the power supply, which is typically the most fundamental part of troubleshooting. I think it's the power.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if when trying to pull the graphics card out of that tight gap, we pull the power cable out.
Editor Dan makes a very good point. We had to pull the graphics card out of quite a tight gap that might have led to some moving of the cables in a way that, well, is not conducive with a working PC. So let's see what the crack is down here, shall we? Oh my God. No way. Oh, I feel like such a moron. This is going to work now. I've just got a feeling. Yep. Boots. It literally boots. Oh. But I think Editor Dan's spot on. I think what's happened is when we've put the vertical GPU mount in, and I say we, I mean I, we've had to pull the cables too tight. One of them's not been clipped in super tight, and maybe the connection's just a little bit loose on the power supply now. It's come out very easily done, but the moral of the story, always check your power supply connections. I've not had that happen in so long where that's been the root cause. And I have a feeling now that if I go ahead and put the vertical GPU mount back in, it should all work. Here goes nothing, it's back in. We'll jump the PC using the 2 pins on the front panel. Will we get an output? Come on, please, no, not again. Yes! It works. We're all good. And I'll see you in a minute. For the performance, what an ordeal I was going to look at my watch. I haven't got one. The last hour was. Well, in Warzone 2 to start off with at 4K high settings with FSR enabled and popped on the quality preset, this build pulled in an impressive 142 FPS on average. Considering this performance was at 4K, you've got to be impressed by how this card stacks up, at least in our initial testing. Move over to Modern Warfare 2 at 4K, and here we got 120 FPS, so slightly lower, 13 FPS less in Modern Warfare 2. A very similar game in its design to Call of Duty's Warzone 2, but obviously you get the story mode and the added elements which do add a higher drain on GPU performance. Games like Fortnite also stack up well. 1080p competitive settings delivered 330 FPS. That's right, 330. AMD cards typically always stack up well in games like Fortnite and even our next title, Apex Legends. I'm not so sure why Apex works so well on AMD cards, but it certainly performed here. 288 FPS on average when testing at 1440p high is enough to saturate even the highest 280Hz high refresh rate 1440p monitors. In fact, I'd ascertain and say that the frame rates delivered on this card are well beyond the refresh rate of most people's monitors who'd be looking to build a system like this. Same applies in Overwatch 2, 1440p Ultra, 362 FPS on average here, strong 90 and 99th percentiles for good measure, while games like Formula 1 2022 at 4K, set to Ultra settings, with FSR set to performance and ray tracing even enabled on ultra high settings. Bear in mind, ray tracing normally a better performer on Nvidia cards than AMD, and 144 FPS was the frame rate of the day. Some incredibly strong results then from our 7900 XT combined with this wider build combo. You can learn more about all the parts selected today at the first links below. Get subscribed to see more from me. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, we'll see you in the next one. What starts with geek and ends with .com?
Your mum.